Well, I almost made a huge mistake right on camera, and I thought that I would explain that to you so that you don't make the mistake. I had cut this piece of wood to run grain lengthwise from front to back on the motor mounts, and they have to run cross grain, so I turned it around. I saved it just in time. Turn it around, and we got them cut for cross grain. I've trued them up. I'm going to CA them together and then true them up one more time so they're all the same thickness. And then we're going to epoxy this together, set it aside to dry. Set it aside to dry so that when it comes time to use it, the crutch will be done. Ready to go. It'd be nice if it was one piece, but it's not absolutely necessary that it be one piece. You want these motor mounts to run from the engine to touch the wing, the top of the wing. So when I lay this out and I open up the fuselage, I'm going to have to sand. That's interesting. I'm going to have to sand the arc. Sand the arc of the wing into the motor mounts so that you can epoxy it to the top of the wing. As I was explaining to one person at Brodak, by the time my airplane's done, with everything tied together, it all becomes one piece. And that's why it'd be very hard to pull the bell crank out of one of my airplanes. I think I would tell Joe Gilbert. Now I'm going to put it on the belt sander. I got it close there to make sure the motor fits. Nice and tight fit. There's not a whole lot of slop in it, so that's a good thing. Now when you're selecting your motor mounts, these don't seem to be really all that hard. I got it from Tom Morris, but it's all I have, so that's what we're going to use. I like to sand them a little bit, get the burrs off of them. we'll just end up coating this all with Z-epoxy anyway, so hopefully they're strong enough. It doesn't seem to be rock hard maple, it seems to be some other type of wood, but Tom says it's maple, so. Okay, here we go. Now I had it measured to a 5 on the Richter scale. 5. Trying to make everything as exact as you can. So we're going off just a little bit, so we're going to sand both ends of that. Close, but boy, it's not perfect. It's a few thousandths off. I'm not sure that makes a difference, but all we gotta do is hope this is 6.5 inches long. Oh yeah, plenty. So we'll be able to get a 6.5 ounce tank in there. Dust is good, so we'll mix up some epoxy and get that ready to go. Use my big cups, I guess. Hopefully I can find some acid brushes or stir sticks. One. There's an acid brush. Get those out, and I have my clamps over here. So, well, I'm going to mix up the epoxy. I'll be back in a bit. Okay, we're still on day 4. Crutch is made. And I laid out the fuselage, the lengths that I wanted. Laid out the rib, marked down for the center line for the wing. And I did the trailing edge of the stabilizer. And now I'll do the leading edge of the stabilizer. We'll make it fit exact. So it goes to right there. cut it a little short. So that I can sand it in. So we cut it a little short. We're going to put a half circle on that for the leading edge of the stab. Now the first thing I did when I laid this fuselage out is I trued up the top, this top piece right here. Took a straight edge and cut it straight and sanded it straight. That way I have 0 incidents. Now what I do to get a perfect ½ inch is I just take the motor mount and put it back there on the mark. And we draw a line. Now we have a perfect ½ inch slot for that. And I'm going to take a template here, circle template, with a ½ inch hole on it. And we're going to make a circle so that the leading edge of the stabilizer fits right in there. I want all the glue joints to be as absolutely tight as possible. Oh, perfect. Okay. Alright, so now I have to lay out how the cowl is going to be. Now on the other model, and I'm going to do the same thing, the cowl comes down and then back. I didn't like the cowl in one angle. It's just too much for my tastes. So set the crutch up here. And of course the crutch is going to have to be relieved because it's going to glue onto the wing. And then we need to draw the center line of the spray bar, because that's where that line has to come through. Let me get a pen maybe. If I can find a pen. Well, I'll just mark it. Hopefully I get it right. I know, measure it. Measure is good. One, two, 3 less than 2. 3 less than 2. You want that split right on the needle valve, otherwise it's terrible. You have a hard time with the cowling. 1, 1, 2, 3, it's right there. Let's see how far back from the spinner it is. 3, I'm using a metric rule, so 3 centimeters plus 1, 2, 3, 4 millimeters. It's right on the money. Got a good eye. Okay, we got the dot there. We're going to have to split it right there on the cowl line. And of course the other side, this side of the fuselage, has to be different. It has to have the same angle, but it has to have a flat here. So it has to come down and then go flat and then over. Otherwise you have a problem or a big hole where the muffler sticks out. So these are just some things you gotta take into consideration. This is all correct. Now we want to split the spinner we want to have enough for a pin on the bottom. I guess I'm going to take it up to the airplane, the other airplane, and see if the angles are correct. It's close, I'm sure. Yep. Pretty good. Okay, we have our fuselage template laid out, so now we'll cut it. I like taper in the fuselage, so I'm cutting a whole bunch off of this piece. It's about 3/4 of taper. I wanted to do more taper on this one than I did on the other one. I only have 2 pieces, so I can't make any mistakes. I like to have this fuselage size sided about 3/4 of an ounce. Actually, I'd like to have it at a 1/2 ounce, but I don't think that's going to happen. We're going to have to make some doublers. Alright, so now we have that. Fuselage blank is blanked out. Cut the stabilizer notch. One thing I've been doing back here is I've been putting a doubler back here too, because we're going to make this very thin. So it's going to have a lot of harmonic, could have a lot of harmonic vibration to it. So we're going to put a doubler on it, because this is a rather large stabilizer, 30 inches. It's 2 inches bigger than the other one. Of course, the wing is bigger too. It's got more cord. It'll have the same span, just more cord. And if I can get the same weight, it'll be really nice because it'll be lighter wing loading. Of course, like I said, that other airplane flies really well too, but I like to experiment and see what works and what doesn't. Okay. I cut this line a little larger than I wanted to, because this is a prototype and I don't know if it doesn't look right. I can always cut more off. There's not a whole lot of adding tools, but there's plenty of cutting off tools, so I left 1/4 of an inch more on the back, and should I get it together and not like the way that it looks, I can cut another 1/4 inch off. But I think this will suffice. Just I used the that looks about right method. Of course, I have to come down with a taper on the turtle deck too. So I figured it at the straight, and that's not really any good. So now we cut out the wing hole. Then we can lay out the doublers and the other fuselage side, and they'll be exact. Get the stringers cut up. And we'll have the fuselage crutch built today. The fuselage will not be completed today. But we will be well on our way to having a model in less than a week. The finishing is what takes so long on these. It's not the actual woodwork. It goes together rather easily. Hard spot right there. hard. There we go. Okay, let's see if the pattern fits through. It does. Now this is going to have a 16th added all the way around, so I'll still have to sand to fit. So that's this will be a good cut. So here we have the first fuselage side. And all we have to do now is transfer it to the other piece. And we're good to go. We need to make 2 doublers. And I'm going to use the carbon fiber mat sandwiched between 2 pieces of balsa wood on this. It seems to work alright. That's what the other one is. So while I cut the other piece, I'll cut the camera so I can listen to the TV, because YouTube doesn't allow. Oh, I want to show you the relief that has to be done on this. In order to make this work, you have to relieve the motor mounts so that the motor mounts are glued to the top of the wing. And we're going to have to remove this amount of material here. I lost my zoomer. Don't know what happened to it. Really getting feeble in my old age. You can never find nothing. I set it down and the shop eats it. There it is. I'm missing my sanding block right now. Anyway, we'll zoom in here and give you a shot of that. This right here has to be cut away. This gets glued to the top of the wing when the fuselage is put together. That gives you a good solid bond. So we'll be back in a minute. Okay, pieces are all cut for the fuselage. I have the doublers. This is that RC wood I had. It's rock hard 3/32, and we're going to use that as a doubler. I like the balsa doublers better for the simple fact there's no real hard wood. I'm also going to use Z-epoxy to laminate it together. Z-epoxy sands really well, so we're going to get a real nice shape on the nose. I'm just taking a few minutes here to true these parts up because I don't want any mistakes. This one here is hanging over probably a 32nd of an inch, and I want to make sure that it's squared up real good. And then when I get them together, when I get them glued, I'll clamp them together and sand them both equally so they're exactly the same. Stupid thing. Can't win some days. Not that this is an important piece here, it's just it gets cut out anyway. But I want it on there to make sure that it's correct. Come on, too much crap on the table. We'll go the other way so it doesn't pull off. And I'll flood it with CA to make sure that it stays on. Much better. Stupid thing. I don't understand why that... Except, like I said, this wood is real hard. Real brittle. I just pulled a little piece off the end. So now we have the doublers squared up to the fuselage. See if I can dig out the carbon. I get this carbon from Aerospace Composites. And we'll cut off a couple pieces. And we're going to lay it up and then weight it down. And that'll be the end for today. And this is still day 4. I still got to go to the hardware store and get a couple of pieces of all thread so I can thread my templates, you know, bolt my templates together. I don't know if this carbon fiber sandwich deal actually does anything, but it can't hurt. I think it's more the glue than the carbon, but silk span would probably work. But I have it, so I'm going to use it. About time to order some more. I'll build some more airplanes if we still have a country left. Alright. Two pieces of carbon out. Well, we got to mix up some Z-epoxy. Maybe I hopefully have another acid brush here. I don't know. Yeah, I do. I've got to get this mess cleaned up. It's just ridiculous. I can't get any work done. Another mixing cup. Get this epoxy. Now, normally I put the epoxy on and wipe most of it off. However, this is going to be a structural joint, so unless I have some hour or 30-minute epoxy, I'm not sure. I gotta go with what I have. I just don't have the material anymore. Let's see what this is. This is 5 minute. This is I got 5 minute, but I'm not sure that would be too good for this. I used to have some Gorilla Glue, but I don't have any of that around either. Could use white glue, but that'd be too heavy. So we'll just use this epoxy and hope that we'll give it a try, see how it works. You know, I might have some of that other epoxy though. Well, I hate to waste this. I think I'm going to use the other epoxy. It's I'll have to get some more tomorrow. I just don't want any mistakes using things I don't know whether it'll work or not. So while I mix this up, because it's going to take a few minutes to drain out, I'm going to shut the camera off. Gotta dump this stuff outside, this other stuff. Be back in a bit. Well, after looking at how much epoxy I have, and having already dumped the Z-epoxy into the tube, into the cup, we're going to go ahead and Z-epoxy it. I just made a quick phone call to Bob Hunt and asked him if it would work, and he said yep, so that's what we're going to do. When in doubt, ask a question. I've never done this with Z-epoxy before, but he says it'll work. He's built quite a few airplanes. I'm sure that if he said it'll work, it will work. So, it's good to know. That's all I have is Z-epoxy. So, we will put some glue on here. Of course, we're not going to wipe it all off like I normally do for wing skins. We're going to leave it on there. Heck, you never know, I may like this because it should sand better than regular epoxy. Let's see where we got to come to. About here. This is a part I always hate. It's just so messy. See, even I have to ask questions sometimes. But a good mechanic doesn't know all the answers, he just knows where to find them. You don't have to know everything. Just where to find the right answer. That's why I hope these building videos that I do help you along. Okay, so now we have that on there. And we're going to place the carbon fiber on here. And we're going to spread a little more glue on this side. Well, that's one side. We'll get the other one glued up, and then I'll weight it all down with my server weights. I think I will just put a little CA on it so it doesn't shift. I guess I could cut this off too. And I think that'll probably do it for the day. We'll come back tomorrow on day 5. And, you know, I could have had this together. I just... Believe me, guys, I'm not working like I normally do. But we made decent progress. So I'm tacking it together in a few spots with CA so it doesn't move. We'll set this aside. It takes quite a bit of time for Z-epoxy to dry. So we'll go ahead and glue this side. Then I'm going to weight it all down and we'll come back tomorrow. good bond on this though. Probably pretty boring, but everybody wants to see start to finish, so not only have I shown you how I come up with they're having a discussion on the forum right now about originality points. And as I stated in my post, how many things can you do with one wing, one fuselage, one elevator stabilizer, and one rudder? There's not much. Unless you're going to build a flying saucer, it's not going to be original. This is basically like my Monado XL, except I'm changing it into a long, low, sleeker model. But it'll look very similar, except the wing will have more cord. So, and we'll tack this down and lay out some new wax paper that's clean so it doesn't stick. There you have it. That's the way to go. Now this glass top is glass, so and it's level. So we're not going to be inducing any warp into the fuselage when I weight it. Get any of the glue off of here that might put an indent in it. Fresh piece of wax paper. I'm going to put a piece of wax paper on top of it so that it doesn't stick to the glass. Damn, I didn't get it long enough. I just don't have the room. Got too much garbage I'm going to have to clean up. And then I'm going to put my server weights on it. I think they're about 10 pounds a piece. That's it. We'll come back tomorrow and we'll be ready to start building the fuselage. So we'll see you on day 5. Well, welcome to day 5 of the project. We have the fuselage sides done now. They've been all sanded and trued up. I use the balsa wood carbon method. I use Z-epoxy between the doublers. They seem to be well bonded, so I'm not much worried about that. I'm glad I did call Bob Hunt and ask him if that would work, but now you'll notice what I was talking about, the extra notch. When you're making fuselage side, you need to leave this extra piece right here. And the reason for that is it's a filler for when the exhaust is put on. Hope you can see that. That'll fill up the bottom gap. And that's kind of important. Now I've got to dig through my things and see if I can find a piece of 3/16 balsa for the top of this crutch, which we'll glue in today. And I'll show you how I make the bulkheads for this. I'm thinking about trying a new, at least new for me, a new way of doing bulkheads where I'm going to X them inside there so that I only have 4 pieces of 1/16 inside the fuselage to make it lighter. We'll see how that works. So Let me dig for some wood. I'll be back in a short when I find it. Okay, in order to get the fuselage started, we had to make the first bulkhead, and the first bulkhead is made with the motor crutch. Simply lay the motor crutch on the plywood and trace the width out. And then using a square, you make one end square and measure the distance of the fuselage, and that gives you the first bulkhead. So we'll go ahead and cut that out on the bandsaw. Too much stuff here. I have a table saw too, but this piece is too big to get in there. So I think I'll trim it up on the table saw. If you'll notice here, I've left the line on all the way around. And that's because we're going to clean this up on the disc sander. You want everything to fit perfectly, and you just can't cut a good line with a saw. So we'll bring it down to the line with the sander. A scroll saw too, but I just don't use it much because there's just not any need. So now this is a little bit big still, so we're going to trim it. Put another line on this side. Just a little bit. Hit it one more time. Alright, that's perfect. You want to make sure that this bulkhead is the exact same width as the crutch. Now we have to notch it, and we're going to do that with the crutch, or I have another motor mount here, or I did. Ah, here we go. I'm not sure whether you can see what I'm doing or not, but I'm just marking the notch for the engine bearer. And we'll cut that on the bandsaw. And you want to leave the line on because we're going to sand up to that so it fits snugly. Okay, I've left the line on and this should not fit. And it doesn't, so that's a good thing. So I just take 80 grit. Sand up to the line. See if it fits now. Nope. Got to get the line off. If I had a little Dremel belt sander, this would go rather quickly. Tools help, but are not absolutely necessary. I don't know how much I'll cut out of this, but it's cut out of the tape because it's rather boring to watch me. File these notches. Yeah, almost. See which one needs to go the most. Man, that's a long way. There we go. You want to make sure that fits perfect. We got some glue in the corner here, so we'll chip that out. And this needs to